is a split call. I call Eugenie Sage, 5 minutes.
Speaker, thank you. Please take a short call on the Exclusive Economic Zone and Continental Shelf Environmental Effects Transitional Provisions Amendment Bill. And the Green Party opposed this bill at first reading because it appeared to be another example of the government amending the law to provide preferential treatment to industry to benefit corporate interests and, in this particular case, to benefit Shell Todd Oil Services so that they could continue to operate the Maui gas field. Because if the company didn't have a new marine consent by the 27th of June, then it would have been in breach of the principal EEZ Act and it would have had to stop operating. But with the benefit of submissions and advice from officials in Select Committee, and with the changes that opposition members encouraged the government members to support, we will now be supporting this bill. Because that advice was quite helpful. It did turn out that Shell Todd Oil had actually notified the EPA of its intention to lodge a marine consent application in June last year. It had provided a draft impact assessment in September and actually lodged the application in November. And the Green Party wants a robust process for the EPA to consider these applications so that their impacts can be thoroughly investigated, assessed and considered. And the changes that the Select Committee is making to the bill provide for that, because it won't allow any existing operator to continue to operate unless they apply at least 9 months before their existing permit or privilege under the Crown Minerals Act expires and they file a complete application for a marine consent with the EPA. So it does ensure that 9-month period that the full EPA decision process can be gone through. It doesn't allow enough time for appeals to be considered, but it is a significant improvement on the bill as introduced, and we thank submitters for drawing their concerns to the committee's attention and also officials for their work. And while the EPA has recently granted consent to Shell Todd Oil, the next of the existing operators that would be likely to use this provision in the Act would be TUI, and their application, or their existing permit and privileges expire in November 2025. So we hope that they've got their head around the processes well before then. But Mr. Speaker, one of the things that was really disappointing was that Shell Todd Oil didn't make a submission, didn't come to Select Committee. We weren't able to question them about the extent to which, if the bill hadn't gone through, the Maui gas supply would have actually been disrupted. We certainly don't want Kiwis going without gas, but now that they are a swing producer for that field, they're no longer the dominant producer of gas, so potentially there could have been a temporary stop on production being met by supply from other operators, but we didn't get the chance to ask Shell that. One of our major concerns in the whole marine space is that the same minister that's responsible for this bill has been talking repeatedly about introducing new marine reserves legislation, yet it is yet to come to this House. This bill can be introduced and put through the parliamentary process fairly quickly, yet we are waiting over a decade for new marine reserves legislation. The Maui A and B platforms are 33 and 38 kilometres offshore respectively. We don't have any deep sea marine reserves. We've got a government which is encouraging more exploitation of oil and gas, even though there's strong scientific evidence that we cannot burn up to 50% of our existing reserves without frying the climate. We need to have more marine protection rather than an encouragement of more oil extraction. This government needs to bring a marine reserve to the House so that we can have some deep sea marine protection and not just accommodating the industry. Thank you.
Sue Williams, CO, 5 minutes.
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, the government often thinks